In the vast tapestry of world mythology, few creatures have captured the human imagination with the same enduring power as the unicorn. This enigmatic beast, with its singular horn and otherworldly presence, has transcended cultural boundaries and temporal constraints, evolving from an obscure reference in ancient texts to a ubiquitous symbol in modern popular culture. However, the true origins of this mythical creature lie not in the fairy tales and fantasy novels of the recent centuries, but in the rich, complex world of ancient Judaic literature and folklore. This is the legend of the Jewish unicorn.
For generations, humans have been telling stories, tales, and legends about creatures found all around the world. From the griffin to the chupacabra, and from the leviathan to the Chinese dragon. It's high time we set out an adventure to learn about them all. This is an expedition for the mythological. Welcome to Mytho Safari.
Welcome to the world of Abrahamic faiths and the mythological creatures that inhabited them. We'll be riding the unicorn into episode 1 of this series on mythological creatures of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. We have an amazing roster of creatures for this particular series as well, as traveling from their origins in the Middle East and Israel, they've spread to the rest of the world. So make sure you subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single episode on this series. As well, you can become a member on this channel, as it goes a long way to support us and help us make more amazing content just like this.
The Re'em and the Tachash.
Our exploration of this mythical beast begins in the hollowed pages of the Hebrew Bible, where we encounter a creature known as the Re'em. This beast, translated as the wild ox, or unicorn, appears in several passages as a paragon of strength and indomitability. Searching in the book of Numbers, we can find the phrase in Hebrew, El motzi'am mimitzrayim, keto'afot re'em lo. God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of the Re'am. This seemingly offhanded reference would prove to be the genesis of a mythological legacy that would lead us until the modern day. The Re'am appears in other biblical passages as well, each reinforcing its reputation for power and wildness. In Job, God challenges Job, Hayover rem ovdecha, Hayover rem ovdecha, Im yalin al abusecha, Hatikshor rem betelem avoto, Im isaded amakim acharecha. Will the Re'em be willing to serve thee or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the Re'em with this band in its furrow, or he harrow the valleys after thee? This portrayal of the Re'em as an untamable force of nature would have profound implications for later interpretations of the unicorn myth. The transformation of the Re'em into the unicorn as we know it today began with a crucial act of translation, when the Hebrew Bible was rendered into the Greek Septuagint, or the Greek Old Testament. The translators chose the word monokeros, meaning one-horned, to describe the Re'em. This linguistic shift laid the foundation for the unicorn's most defining characteristic and set the stage for its metamorphosis in the collective imagination of Western civilization. And interestingly enough, the modern-day Hebrew word for unicorn is chad keren, which comes from the word keren, meaning horn, and chad, which means the number 1, echad, literally means one-horned. The unicorn also features prominently in various midrashic texts, which is the ancient commentary on part of the Hebrew scriptures. Some of these texts connect the Re'em to the concept of divine justice. According to this text, when God created the world, he initially created justice as a harsh, unyielding force, symbolized by the Re'em. Realizing that the world could not prosper under such strict justice, God tempered it with mercy, represented by the more tamer and domesticated ox. The Midrash reinforces the Re'em's association with primal, untamed power, but also it introduced a nuanced understanding of its role in the divine order. The Re'em in this context becomes a symbol of delicate balance between justice and mercy that sustains all of creation. Another midrashic tradition links the Re'em to messianic prophecies. This text suggests that in the messianic era, the righteous will feast on the meat of the Leviathan, in Hebrew Leviathan, and the Re'em, symbolizing the ultimate triumph over the chaotic forces of nature and the fulfillment of divine promises. Tachash as well comes up as a creature mentioned in the Bible in connection with the construction of the tabernacle, which was the portable sanctuary constructed by Moses as a place of worship for the Hebrew tribes during the period of wandering that preceded their arrival in the promised land of Israel. In Exodus, we find that the tachash skins were being used as a covering for the sacred structure. But what a tachash actually is has been subject of debate among Jewish scholars and commentators for centuries. Some suggest that the tachash was a unique animal, created specifically for the purpose of providing skins for the tabernacle, and subsequently became extinct. Interestingly enough, the Talmud describes the tachash as a large, one-horned animal with a multicolored hide. This kind of directly links it to being a unicorn in the context as we know it today. Rabbi Meir, a prominent 2nd century sage, is quoted as saying that the tachash was a separate species, and the sages could not decide whether it was a wild animal or a domestic animal, and it had one horn on its forehead. This description bears a striking resemblance to later European depictions of the unicorn, suggesting a possible connection between the tachash and the evolving unicorn myth in Europe. Furthermore, some medieval Jewish commentators such as Rashi interpreted the tachash as a colorful and unique creature, reinforcing its association with the fantastical and the rare. And in addition to all of this, multiple times in the Talmud, we find some of the most intriguing and fantastical descriptions of the Re'am. One particular remarkable passage in the Babylonian Talmud is described that the Re'am was of such colossal proportions that it could not be accommodated within Noah's Ark. The solution, according to the text, was to tether the creature to the ark by its horn, which, yes, is insane, as well is a tale about King David, in Hebrew Melech David, which once mistook a slumbering Re'em for the mountain and ascended its flank. Upon the creature's awakening, the king found himself elevated in a perilous height, where he prayed profusely. Divine intervention arrived in the form of a lion, whose presence caused the Re'em to prostrate itself in fear, allowing David to descend safely. These tales illustrate the profound and symbolic significance attached to the Re'em in ancient Judaic thought, as well as the potential that the ancient Israelites and Am Yisrael encountered this unbelievable creature in their day-to-day life in Israel. In Jewish Kabbalistic literature, a connection to the metaphysical significance of this unicorn exists as well. In this context, the unicorn's horn is interpreted as a phallic symbol, embodying the masculine aspect of divinity that interfaces with and vivifies the feminine aspect. The Zohar, which is the central text of Kabbalistic mysticism, elaborates on this concept, describing the unicorn as a mediator between the upper and lower worlds. The creature's singular horn is seen as a channel through which divine energy flows from the higher realms into the material world, nourishing and sustaining creation. Some Kabbalistic thinkers even drew connections between the unicorn and messianic concepts, viewing its singular horn as the symbol for the ultimate unity to be achieved in the messianic era, whenever that comes, known as the Geulah, when all divisions will be reconciled and the world united under divine governance. This interpretation resonates with earlier Midrashic traditions linking the Re'am to messianic prophecies. Famed Kabbalist Rabbi Yitzchak Luria further developed these ideas, incorporating the unicorn into his complex system of cosmic restoration. He interpreted that the unicorn was a symbol of primordial unity that existed before the breaking of the vessels, the cosmic catastrophe that led to the fragmentation of divine light and the creation of a very imperfect world that we live in today. A long relationship of destiny between the children of Israel, or for a lack of better terms, their unicorn, and whether these were just legend, biblical tales, or a true biological creature, we know that the ancient Israelites had a massive connection with this one-horned beast.
The Chad Keren's journey to Europa.
As Judaic texts disseminated through the ancient world, the concept of the Re'am underwent a profound transformation. The Greek monokeros became the Latin unicornis, and the artists and writers began to elaborate upon the idea of a one-horned beast, giving it new characteristics and symbolic associations. In medieval Europe, the unicorn assumed a dual identity in both religious and secular contexts. Christians interpreted the unicorn as the Christological symbol, its single horn representing the unity of God and Christ. According to these Christian sources, the unicorn could only be captured by placing a virgin in its path. Upon seeing the virgin, the unicorn would lay its head in her lap, allowing itself to be captured. This was interpreted as representing Christ's incarnation through the Virgin Mary, with the unicorn's capture symbolizing Christ's sacrifice for all of humanity. In medieval and Renaissance alchemy, the unicorn was often associated with the Philosopher's Stone, the legendary substance capable of turning base metals into gold and granting immortality. Alchemic texts frequently depicted the unicorn as a symbol of purification and transformation. The unicorn's horn was believed to possess the power to neutralize poisons, and this belief in the horn's detoxifying properties led to a thriving trade in unicorn horn, usually these were narwhal tusks or rhinoceros horns, among European nobility. They sought out these rare objects as both status symbols and protective talismans. But up until this point, Europeans never actually saw the unicorn, at least not the ones that the Judeans did. So what actually was this unicorn creature all along? The unicorn is traditionally depicted as a horse-like creature with a single horn protruding from its forehead. And unfortunately, it does not exist in the natural world as we know it today. The unicorn is a legendary animal, a product of human imagination and storytelling that has evolved over millennia. Its physical description has varied across cultures and time periods, but the most common modern representation of it is that of a white or multicolored horse with a spiraling horn, often imbued with magical properties. While various real animals such as the rhinoceros, narwhal, and certain extinct species have been proposed as the possible origins for the unicorn itself remains firmly in the realm of mythology. Said discoveries have lent plausibility to the unicorn myth. The 2016 discovery of the Elasmotherium fossils, dubbed the Siberian unicorn, has prompted speculation about the possible origins of unicorn legends and ancestral memories of extinct megafauna. This rhinoceros-like creature, which lived up until 29,000 years ago, possessed a large, single horn and may have coexisted with early human populations. Other extinct species such as Megaloceros giganteus, the Irish elk, with its massive antlers, have also been suggested as possible inspirations for unicorn myths. Comparative mythologists have also drawn parallels between the unicorn and similar one-horned creatures in other cultural traditions, such as the Karkadan of Persian mythology or the Qilin of Chinese folklore, suggesting possible roots of cultural exchange and influence. And speaking of the Karkadan, in Islamic tradition, the unicorn is often associated with the creature known as Al-Karkadan or just Karkadan. This beast is mentioned in various Arabic writing and is sometimes described as a unicorn-like animal. The 8th century Arabic writer Al-Jahiz described the Karkadan in his Book of Animals, and the 13th century Persian scholar Al-Qazwini also wrote about the Karkadan, describing it as a powerful beast with a singular horn. In other Islamic texts, the Karkadan is associated with a rhinoceros, but in others, it takes on a more mythical quality akin to the European unicorn. But as we know, both Christianity and Islam were born out of Judaism, the first monotheistic religion in the region, so any original source material pretty much goes back to the Israelites. As European exploration of the world increased during the Renaissance and early modern periods, the unicorn began to occupy a curious position between myth and reality. Travelers' accounts often included descriptions of unicorn-like creatures, fueling speculation about the beast's actual existence. Marco Polo, in his famous travelogue, described encountering unicorns in Java, but these were probably rhinoceroses, as they do inhabit Java even today. This cute little rhinoceros called the Javan rhino. Similarly, the 16th century explorer Andrei Corsili wrote of seeing unicorns in Ethiopia. These accounts were based on misidentifications, or maybe just what people called one-horned creatures back in the day, but they served to keep the idea of the unicorn alive in European imagination and in scientific discourse. Naturalists such as Konrad Gessner included the unicorn in the encyclopedic works on animals, often attempting to reconcile classical and biblical descriptions with the contemporary reports and speculation. The unicorn's symbolic potency has not diminished with the passage of time. In contemporary culture, it continues to serve as a powerful metaphor for uniqueness, purity, and the transcendent. Its appropriation by various subcultures and movements, speaking to its enduring ability to embody ideals and individuality. In popular culture, it appears in everything from children's cartoons to marketing campaigns. This modern incarnation of the unicorn often emphasizes themes of individuality, self-expression, and the pursuit of dreams, while also drawing on the creature's long-standing associations with the magical and the extraordinary. And look, let's be honest. I'm going to interject some thoughts based on my knowledge of the land and the culture. I think the unicorn was just a rhinoceros that the ancient Israelites either had hands-on experience with or was passed on to them for their interactions with the Canaanites, Phoenicians, and other peoples that inhabited Israel before them. In Segula magazine, I found an amazing article that kind of proves this if you just connect the puzzle pieces. A team of archaeologists on an expedition in Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank, investigated the remains of the Mousterian culture, associated with the remnants of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens unearthed in caves in the Galilee region of Israel and elsewhere. These findings were found in a pit called Neta's Pit. Bones of various fauna were uncovered, and hunters apparently killed these animals and dumped their remains into this pit, hence for their preservation. The discovery of a rhino tooth was found. Professor Amos Fulmkin, director of the Hebrew University's Cave Research Center, said, "Rhinos haven't been seen in the land of Israel in the last 20 or 30,000 years, and certainly not this type of rhino, which was the African rhino. This has never been found in Asia. Its discovery in Ofra might indicate the route of migration from Africa to Eurasia." I mean, being that Israel is literally the land bridge between the two continents of Africa and Asia, and we know elephants roamed here just a few thousand years ago, it's not too much of a stretch to imagine rhinos did as well. And like I said earlier, whether they were extinct before or after the dawn of monotheism in the region, I have no doubt in my mind that legends and stories of this creature dwelled in the land of Israel via diverse people groups who eventually handed it over to the Israelites themselves. And that, my friends, is the legend of the Jewish unicorn. Make sure you subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single episode on this series. As well, you can become a member on this channel. It goes a long way to support us and help us make more amazing content just like this. We'll see you on the next safari.